I guess, civic activities since our last meeting. I had the pleasure of visiting Blaze Netball Club, women's netball club based at Stratton School in the evenings. And it was great to see a really well-attended netball club and see women's sport thriving in the town. And I think even made it to one of their Facebook reels or whatever on the night, which was interesting. But it was great to see such a vibrant and active sports group in the town. So do go and support them or watch their matches and so on if the opportunity arises. The second thing was it was a pleasure to open or reopen, should I say, the Abbott's Walk after the refurbishments. I know that the town council have played a major role in helping with those refurbishments, and it being, for those that aren't aware, unusually a piece of privately owned property in the town rather than it being central beds or whatever. And it's now looking a lot fresher and brighter than it was, and leaning very much towards a history of Greene King and the town as well. So hopefully that will continue to look nice and fresh as we go forward. And also it was great to see the council organise, I think for the second time now, a children's Easter egg or Easter party rather in Franklin's Rec. I think by rough estimates, we had about 450 people there, which is really good for Easter Saturday. We'll see lots of children, there's face painter, entertainer, and so on. So I think we're going to look at how that can be enhanced maybe for future years. But it was really good to see that support from the from residents and the town as well. And then very finally, just to put a date for your diaries, I do have a Mayor's quiz coming up, a charity quiz for Magpass and Biggleswade Good Neighbours on the Thursday, the 30th of April in the Rose. If anybody wants to come along or join a team, there'll be an entry fee. And it's also the evening of our first big eats of 2026 as well. So you can make a full night of it if you really wanted to. So hopefully some of you can come and support the quiz as well. Thank you. Item number 4, public open session. I don't think we've got anyone present. Is anyone online? No, thank you, Helen. Okay, that was quick. We don't have an invited speaker, so no number 5. Number 6, members' questions at all. No, okay. Item number 7 then. Minutes and recommendations of to receiving us at the previous town council meeting, and then we need to note the F&G piece. So I'll go straight to the page number, which is page 8. Thank you, Karim. So page 8. Let's go for accuracy first. Okay, page 9. Page 10. Page 11. Page 12. Page 13. So it's a lot of planning applications, I remember last time. Page 14. Page 15. Councillor Strawn.
Just under 12A, shouldn't it just be said that members noted the above, because it just gives us, it says something, but it doesn't actually say what was agreed. So it did.
Okay.
Because it just says it seems a bit bland.
So page 15. Page 15, Karim.
12A financial management report.
Okay. Okay. All right. Noted, Councillor Strawn. I think that's, as long as it doesn't take away from the thrust of its meaning. But yeah, streamlined bits, it's fine. Page 16. And page 17. Great. Okay. Now we will go to the recommendations. So start again, and then we'll approve them. Page 8. Wasn't any there. Page 9. Page 10. Page 11. Councillor Strawn.
Page 11, item 9B. Have we had any response to the correspondence we sent with regards to the parking?
Go on, to you.
Thanks, Mr. Chairman. Yes, we have. We've had a specific response to our 2-3 emails that we sent out, actually, and they are sort of a generalist response, offering us a number of options which are all valid one of which I think we've tried before, which is, sorry, the school may have tried before, which is a petition, online petition option. So we are where we are with it again. I mean, we have an option of writing out again, potentially, in terms of how we're going to address this.
Yeah. Sorry, Councillor Foster and then Councillor Russell.
Well, I was going to ask on Councillor Russell's behalf, actually, in relation to, because we haven't had this, I think she's missed it. Item, where are we, Councillor Russell? Which one is it? Item 6A, in relation to the pedestrian crossing outside St Andrews Street. I think we need an answer.
Go on, Karim.
Thanks. To my recent knowledge, we've had no direct response, and I refer members back to the response which had previously come, which meant that the highways had looked at it and thought it wasn't viable, essentially. But I can go back again and push. We can.
If I may come back, Chairman,
Of course.
I think the minute refers to the fact that members requested that officers press CBC for a written response explaining why the scheme has not progressed. So that, given that's the minute, and I'm asking for an update, matters arising, can I ask them have officers press Central Beds Council for a written response, please?
So my understanding is,
Yeah, go ahead. No, it's fine.
we've gone back via email. However, I'm not sure we've actually rung them up and had a proper discussion through, which I haven't diarised myself for a meeting. But that will be definitely done.
Thank you.
Okay, Councillor Russell. That's okay. All contributions welcome. I'm concerned my son's cub pack apart. It's all standing outside of the building, but continue.
Ask him to ensure that we get a written response.
Yeah.
This has just been going on for so long. And as Councillor Foster said, the minute does say a written response.
Yes.
And I think Gary, whatever his name is, should ensure that his officers give a response.
Yeah.
And the other thing I was going to say on the parking and road safety 9B, if we've had some sort of response from Central Beds with various options, should not they come to council so that we can decide a way forward rather than just being left in the air?
Yeah, I quite agree, Councillor Russell. I mean, I was only informed today of, I think, of some of the timing of those responses. So if Karim can explain, and then we can maybe take it forward.
Thanks. So certainly that is the case, that we've had a response, I think, after we had this pack completed. And therefore, obviously, it's going to be on the next agenda. Whether or not there's going to be space on the agenda to do that for the next two meetings, we will see.
Okay. No, I think I'll come in a second, Councillor John. I think if we can have those options listed, and I think other colleagues who may not be here or whatever might have a strong view on it. I think we need to keep the momentum up and keep it, keep pursuing it. I've had emails from residents this week saying it's got worse again. It seems obviously there's some targeted action and things have got worse. And I think if we let it drift, it's just never going to get resolved. So, Councillor Strong.
Yes, just going back to Councillor Foster, a question on behalf of Councillor Russell. Historically, highways in Bedfordshire haven't been particularly good on saying what's possible or not possible. Years ago, the town council put forward a scheme for a mini roundabout at the Shortmead Street, Sun Street junction, which was rejected by highways for years. And they said they wanted traffic lights, etc., because it was impossible to put a mini roundabout there. What have we got now? A mini roundabout. So I'm sure that what Councillor Russell's asking for is quite feasible. It's just the fact that the Highways Department needs to have the will to do it.
Yes. Okay. All right. Councillor Thomas, sorry.
Yeah, just to say that Councillor Russell's not wrong, because they've actually painted something there now. You can actually see it. It used to be a bit faded, but there's actually a solid block and a hatched block. And all we're asking them to do is put a bit of concrete on it so somebody can get safely to there. And if you try and cross the other side of the road, you're taking a chance as well, even though that's halfway. So
yeah,
it will help, but it's not perfect.
No, understood. Thank you. Right, back to the agenda then. I think we're on. Sorry, Councillor North. Sorry.
We're on matters arising, aren't we?
We are, yes, yeah,
No-
yeah. still.
9C,
Yes.
further clarification as to whether any similar traffic orders remains outstanding. Have we had any response on this?
9C, the bulk one way and the cycle route.
Not to my knowledge, but I can't recall an email coming back. I'll have to double check on that one.
I think the clarification was around whether there are these other extant sort of traffic orders around the town that haven't been, followed up or whatever. So I think that was more the point. I think the bulk scheme, I think, is probably covered, but it's if there are any more that are outside of that.
That was it.
Yeah. Good. Right. Any more questions on that, or we can move on? Okay. Still on matters arising. Page 12. Nope. Page 13. Page 14. Page 15. Page 16. Councillor Strong.
Yes, item 13F. Have we had a response from the surgeries to the letters sent?
Over to you.
So again, my recollection on this from a couple of weeks ago is we've had a response from what was the ICB. And I think one surgery has responded, the other one is still in flight, I think. But I've got to double check if we've had a double response from both surgeries. The other thing to that say is that obviously we're arranging for surgery for the meeting, the meeting which will happen for the surgeries to come in and talk with us and express their views. And we're still waiting for the reformed ICB's next appearance at the next joint committee meeting.
Well, I just hope we can keep the reminder to get the surgery meeting arranged sooner rather than later, please.
Absolutely, Councillor Strong. I think we're all keen to see that, and it's just, I think, with the restructure of the ICB and various other things, it's all sort of in flux. But yes, we definitely need to keep the momentum going. So great. Okay, so page 16, page 17. Good. We'll take those as you've got them. Yeah. Okay, great. Are we all okay with the move it? Yeah. Great. Thank you. Right. Sorry, yeah, we got to sorry, I came out of the program agenda. I kind of did the matters arising aspect before looking at the noting of the F&GP minutes. So we were happy to note the F&GP minutes. Thank you. So we've covered both of those now. Thank you. I did that slightly out of order. Item number 9, items for consideration, ASDA car parking. I think we've got a report from Ian. Do you want to just say a couple of words and then we can have a discussion? We do need to make a resolution on this as well.
Indeed. Yes, the situation is that ASDA have recently revised their car parking arrangements, wouldn't go as far as to call them regulations, and not in favour of the general public. There's a long-standing arrangement which goes back to when it was Safeways and Mid-Beds Council. The arrangement was that anybody could park there. You didn't have to be an ASDA customer. You could park there for 2 hours free. They seem to be reneging on that, and the question is whether or not they can do so. Well, we took legal advice, and so did CBC. And in both cases, our solicitors came back and said they can't do that. So following on from that, CBC have written to the chair of ASDA to say you can't do that. We've held back on writing because we thought there was no point in us doing it if CBC had done it 2 days before. And that's where it rests at the moment.
Okay, thank you, Ian. That's very helpful. Did you want to add something on that, Karim? And then I'll come to Councillor Russell.
Thank you. Just briefly to say that the recommendation is as outlined. Essentially, we would like a resolution so that we can write out as well, even though the sequencing might have been strange.
Okay, that's fine. Okay, Councillor Russell.
So, okay. Well, having been involved when we had all this hoo-ha before, it was a slightly different problem. It was reducing the amount of parking, the timing of the parking, rather than taking it away from residents of the town. And I thought it might be helpful to just think back as to what's been going on, because the Section 106 agreement, it wasn't an agreement direct with Safeway, it was the Section 106 agreement, was that there should be a maximum of 2 hours parking in the Asda car park, and definitely open for the town, because the other idea that went forward for the Section 106 was that there should be 76 spaces that were town spaces,
Right.
and the rest for the car park. But Mid-Beds, in their wisdom, decided to put in this 2 hours. But the trouble is, it said a maximum of 2 hours. So we got silly answers back from Asda. So the first answer we got back was, the recent decision to change the parking time limit on the Asda car park to 90 minutes follows anecdotal feedback that customers were struggling to find a parking space when shopping with us. A regular turnover of spaces for any supermarket is crucial. And he said, you know, if they can't park there, then it would be detrimental for both the store and the wider centre. Since the change to 90 minutes, the store has already seen a marked improvement in the availability of spaces. Then it says, Asda is proud to serve the residents of Biggleswade and to be an anchor retailer for the town centre. Whilst we regularly assess parking time limits across our estate, we don't envisage any further changes to this time limit, which remains in line with the 6 car parks operated by the town council, which offer between 1 and 2 hours of free parking. Well, that was slightly ingenuous, because we've only got one that offers 1 free hour and the others are all 2 hours. That was from somebody called Alan Jones, Head of Corporate Affairs. So he says, Stuart, Lord Rose, has asked I respond on his behalf. Then when we wrote again, he says, again, Stuart has asked that I respond to you. I previously set out the rationale behind the decision to amend the parking time limit, and this remains the case. And any overstay will result in a penalty notice. The decision to offer paid parking is part of a wider programme across a large number of our stores, and it's within Asda's control to vary the amount of spaces available. This could see the number reduce at peak times of the year. This does not detract from the need to ensure the majority of spaces see a regular turnover to help customer accessibility. The new 90-minute limit exceeds the free 1 hour offered at the Town Council operated Chestnut Avenue and White Hart car parks. It's wrong about Chestnut Avenue. And mirrors that offered by Aldi at Bonds Lane. The concerns raised by the Town Council have been acknowledged by Asda's estate team, who, in conversation with the store, will monitor the situation moving forward and keep the new time limit under review. Until such a time that reverting back to 2 hours may be a possibility, Asda's position on this matter will not change, but they offer the idea that at some point it might change. And I'd like to suggest that if we're going to write, we don't write to Stuart Rose again, but I think it might be a good idea to write to Alan Layton, who's the current chief executive, who is, I think, much more on the ball. So I would suggest that we write to Alan Layton as chief executive and that we copy the local manager, which is what we did before. And I think that we should refer back to the fact that it should be 2 hours, and that it was actually the original Section 106 agreement that meant 2 hours, and that it was always going to be for the town as well as the supermarket. And I think that that would give the right position to Asda, and we may even get a response from somebody other than the head of corporate affairs. So I'm proposing that we write to Alan Layton with a copy to the local manager and reiterate what the original agreement should have been, and certainly reiterate what our legal people have told us, that they cannot stop people parking there as a town facility, not just a supermarket facility.
Yeah.
Thank you.
No, thank you, Councillor Russell. That sounds eminently sensible. I'll get a couple of other colleagues and then we'll see where we go. Councillor Strawn and then Councillor North.
I'm
Thank you,
sorry, I've made a formal proposal.
You have,
We have
okay,
a-
is there a second?
Yes, I was going
Okay,
to, I was
okay,
going
I
to
was going
second
to
that,
say,
and I was
I
very
thought-
glad
I
that-
had a feeling you might second that.
I was very glad we're writing to the chief executive.
Yeah.
I felt we should have done even if we were writing to the chairman for very much the reasons Councillor Russell was saying.
Yeah.
And giving details of our previous correspondence so they can't duck out and hide behind the fact that they deny all knowledge of it. The other thing I do wonder whether we could just send a copy through to our MP as well, because I think it's important that the MP knows what's going on in the area and he may have a bit more weight than we do at various times. So I'm more than happy to second that proposal.
Okay, that's great. Thank you. Councillor North.
Thank you, Chairman. Well, I agree, and I agree with Councillor Strawn's suggestions as well. But I'm just wondering if we don't get a satisfactory response, if we give it a few weeks and nothing really happens, or central beds are not able, isn't there an option of actually taking them to court and getting a court order that they must abide by the terms of the original Section 106 agreement? I mean, is this not an option that we may not? I'm not suggesting we do that right now, but maybe in a few weeks or a few months' time that we could do that.
I don't know. Karim, have you got any comments on that?
If I may, so there is always an option, and it's for members to discuss based on the information officers can provide. So that remains an option subject to a response coming in the first place, and then determining what that response is in terms of our objective here, which is to preserve maximum availability for the general public for the town centre for the next 50 years to come, etc. Yeah, I think that's the sort of principle behind this. So yes.
Okay,
we'll see.
Thank you, Karim. Yeah, Councillor Foster, then Councillor Strawn.
I was going to say it's just completely unacceptable. I mean, they've basically changed the signage. It completely is completely averse in a way to the legal position. I think our position really should be to, obviously the letter I completely support. I think we should leave perhaps the enforcement and any court element to Central Beds as a planning authority. I think it's their responsibility to deal with that. But we should still keep pressure on Asda. And I think residents are obviously very unhappy about the situation, but we've also got ward councillors and residents and other people that are in a similar position to the town council. So I don't think we're alone. So the writing to the chief executive of Asda and the branch managers for now, I think it is sufficient for now until we get a response.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Foster. Councillor Strawn, and then we'll go to the vote, I think.
Councillor Foster, I think, has actually hit the nail on the head about enforcement. I think that would be down to CBC because the Section 106 agreement would have been with Mid-Bed, CBC are the successors. So contractually, I think that would have to be the case.
Okay, thank you, Councillor. Last comment to Councillor Jones, and then we'll go to the vote.
The only other thing that's on my mind is why this keeps coming up. And I'd be really curious to understand that from Asda's perspective. And on the one hand, it doesn't really matter, it just needs to be resolved. But if every time it comes up, it's a use of officers' time, not just here, but at CBC as well. And then there's costs involved every time we go to solicitors, etc. And it's just a waste of everybody's time, as well as Asda's time, to be honest, if they could just abide by the rules that are set out. So we would be saving them a whole load of money as well. So it's just something to potentially think about with the wording of if they can help us understand why this keeps coming up, just to try and restrict that in the future.
Yeah, no, thank you, Councillor Jones. No, I mean, before we go to vote, I think it's great that officers have been pursuing this, and I think if you've been led to believe some people that only certain ward councillors were campaigning on this, but I know that town council have also been working hard behind the scenes. So that's been very good to know that we're still sticking up for residents and trying to get a resolution. So, right, okay, we've got the motion as set out. So I'm going to go to the vote now. Councillor Gusher, is it?
Councillor Strawn, adding an amendment, is that going to go?
Sorry, yes, there was a slight tweak to that. Councillor Russell, are you happy with the change that Councillor Strawn added?
Sorry, remind me.
About writing
fine,
to
yeah,
copying in
yes.
Richard, yeah.
I'm definitely
Sorry,
happy
thank
with
you,
that.
Councillor Gusher.
Can I just say as well that I would expect that the officer letter that goes to Alan Leighton would quote quite clearly what our legal advice is.
Okay, yes.
I'm sure it will, but just to add that.
No, that seems sensible. Thank you. Good, okay. So we've all got we're all clear what we're all voting for, okay? So all those in favour as the motion set out? Thank you very much, it's unanimous. Great, brilliant, thank you. Okay, 9B, Tempsford update, and I think this is something for you, Ian, is that right? And you're going to, yeah, there's quite a bit on this, so I'll let you present and then we can go.
Thank you.
Go forward, thank you.
Yeah, the ball has started rolling on Tempsford. There's a paper out at the moment which is being responded to. There's a meeting being arranged by the MP and a couple of county district councillors in Tempsford on Friday evening, which I'm intending to attend on behalf of Biggleswade. And I think that really is the start of the process. We're getting in early, I think. I suppose primary question is what's in it for Biggleswade? So would apply, I guess, to Sandy and other places, but we see ourselves as potentially benefiting as being a springboard, a launch pad for Tempsford, because it'll be a long time before anyone can actually operate anything out of a muddy field at Tempsford. It makes sense for anyone thinking of developing something there to put down some short-term, medium-term routes in Biggleswade while they work out their plans.
Okay, and I think the other broader point as well, and I'm sure others will make it in a minute, is obviously the broader impact this will have on the A1, on other sort of public services and things going forward, and you know, we've seen this in potentially the Ivor Valley school debate as well, and all these kind of things. The whole kind of knock-on effect potentially of all of this as well. So, any comments, questions from colleagues? Councillor Strawn.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think it's absolutely essential that we're represented there, because if I read the press reports correctly, they're indicating that the extent of it is including Potton and Sutton parishes. Yeah. In view of the local plan and the call for sites and the fact that it looks as though there could be development on the border of Biggleswade and Sutton parish, that automatically brings Biggleswade into the equation as part of the new town, whether we like it or not, if that did occur. So we've got to be represented there, because it will have a big impact, maybe positive, maybe negative. I think if it did go ahead, we've got to be very positive and make sure it works for Biggleswade's benefit. But we aren't on the periphery. We're actually very much included on the basis of that premise, because if Sutton comes in, we're automatically in there. We're the biggest town in the area and going to be affected by it. And I can see that it's going to be rather like Milton Keynes, possibly with villages being absorbed into Tempsford New Town in one form or another. But I think it's important that we do fight for the town and maintain Biggleswade's identity, even if it's part of a bigger whole, as I'm sure all the other towns and parishes affected will want to do. But it's absolutely essential that we are represented there.
Thank you, Councillor Strawn. Councillor Jones, I think Councillor Russell maybe after that.
More, I think definitely I agree with Councillor Strawn's points. There's the new video out today of the East-West Rail proposals as well that I see. And I think there's something about the mitigation of risk, especially when you think about the travel, the impact on travel. I know myself trying to get out of our town in the morning now is quite tricky compared to how it was even just a few years ago, and the extra time that's required. And then you look at the impact the other way, coming back as well in the evenings, just thinking what the additional pressures are going to be on the transport infrastructure, whether there's a rail station or not. Just from a local perspective, I think it's definitely something that we need to have a voice in to try and understand the impact so that we can help mitigate for that.
Thank you, Councillor Jones. Councillor Russell, did you have a question or comment?
I was just wondering who the dear councillor was, who this was addressed to. Because I think this is important enough for councillors to be involved in. That we've got our MP, we've got the CBC leader, and I think David Sutton is Tempsford Parish Council. I think, you know, and to say that we can only have one representative when I think it should be an officer and a councillor actually, because there's a whole history to this, and everything that's happening in Bedfordshire is going to be affected by this. All of our planning that we've done in the past, including our neighbourhood plan, will be affected. I'm just concerned that we're being squeezed out on something that is actually very important. And I'm not very happy with that. And I know that we've also had a communication that says the leader of CBC will talk to us online at some point in the future. This isn't good enough. This is vital, and we need to get set out very clearly right from the beginning all of the issues. The impact of this, the impact of East West Rail, the impact of Universal Studios, the impact on the A1, which is already, as we know. What's going to be the impact on Sandy? You know, we don't even know really what the impact of the Black Cat so-called improvements are going to be, do we? And I feel as if we're being marginalised as a council. That's all I'd say.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Russell. Councillor Foster.
I was going to make the same point as Councillor Russell, actually, given that it's the seriousness of the situation. I think members should be represented. And I think it's quite clear there's at least one individual in the room that's got a real passion for this particular subject. That I think would be a good representative for us. I'm not suggesting that Ian isn't, by the way. I'm just suggesting that I think in addition to Ian, I think Councillor Russell, if you are minded to, I would like us to be allowed Councillor Russell to be representing the council at that event if you're available.
I'm prepared to do it and see what's going on.
Good.
I mean, Ian's got a lot of technical knowledge about development, economic development and all the rest of it. But I think I do have quite a reasonable knowledge of what's been going on in the last few years in planning terms.
I mean, I think that's a fair proposal, Councillor Foster, and I think colleagues would welcome that. Whether I don't know whether we need to vote on that. I think we probably should, but I just wanted to make a point. I think rereading the email just as we were talking, I think the way that it was probably framed, because I saw the original of this email, was that I think when they're talking about council, I think they're really referring to some of the smaller parish councils and things like that, who clearly won't have officer support. So I think actually we can probably be quite blunt about this and say we're going to send. I mean, if other councillors want to go as well, I think that's fantastic. So you know, it shouldn't be exclusive in that sense. But I think certainly if you have one councillor and a member of staff, I think that would be very welcome, and then we can then report back in a more detailed way. So go on, Grim.
Just to say, I think Councillor Russell already pointed it out. The follow-up meeting, although it will be online, is going to be within 2 weeks following the Friday meeting, and obviously that discussion can continue.
Okay, thank you. I mean, it's not ideal having a Teams meeting, but if it's quick, then who knows? Okay, Councillor Strawn.
Frankly, the Teams meeting fills me with dread because they'll probably try and cover all the councils in one go. It will not give us an opportunity as a council to present the consideration, particularly if we've had both Mr Campbell and Councillor Russell having attended the initial meeting who will feedback. I think the chairman of CBC or the leader should be coming to this council to face us face to face for this purpose, not just fobbing us off on a Zoom meeting or Teams meeting with with the rest of the councils. That all the councils should be treated with the same courtesy, and that means face to face, not hiding behind a television screen.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Strawn. Councillor Jones.
Can I just ask for some clarification, please? Sorry, so that meeting in a couple of weeks' time that's on Zoom, has that invitation already gone out? Because there's also the timeliness of it, because that feels like an expectation that people will be available with just 2 weeks' notice for something that we've known has been coming for a long period of time.
Thank you. I think Crim's got an answer to that, and I've got a sort of follow-up point, but go on.
Thanks. So my specific understanding on that is that the meeting is intended for Biggleswade only, essentially, albeit again virtual, and we can discuss what we need to discuss at, at that time. We're still diarising it because we'd like the MP to be involved as well. And I believe that Mr. Campbell has written out already to the MP's office for a slot.
So on the
that's
one
why it
hand,
hasn't
that's
come out.
super helpful, so
Yeah.
thank you. But then on the other hand, it is only in 2 weeks' time, and bearing in mind that everybody is really busy and holds down jobs and officers are busy as well, it just feels like that's not very gratuitous in terms of us being able to diarise efficiently. So I would push back and ask for a bit more leniency.
Yeah, I quite agree, Councillor Jones. I think there's 2 points following on from that. I'm not aware that the leader of Central Beds has ever even, well, he may have been in this building, but certainly hasn't addressed the town council at any opportunity. So maybe there's a hook to invite him in to come and speak to us about a range of issues and not just about Tempsford. So we could follow up on that. But also, I'm led to believe that Central Beds have a liaison or a portfolio holder for town and parish councils, and maybe that's something they should be aware of or have some involvement in the Tempsford discussions. I'm not sure, but I haven't really heard very much from them. But that's supposed to be what they're covering. So again, something else that can be maybe followed up and invite them in. So okay, I think we've got a proposal then. Councillor Russell.
Yes, the person who's being referred to is Councillor Russ Goodchild.
Thank you.
So his
name escaped me for a second.
He could very well be involved in this, but I think the whole planning thing, I mean, we know that Central Beds will not be the planners who look after, if I can put it that way, Tempsford. But we also know that the government wants to bring in rules and regulations, which mean that actually the Development Management Committee at Central Beds will not be looking at anything like the number of planning applications that they do now. So democracy, councillor power is being reduced there. And we've got on the agenda here all about what's happening now with the local plan, which I don't fully understand exactly what each stage is for. But originally we were going to have the call for sites after they'd been assessed, which ones Central Beds were taking forward. That was supposed to be by the end of January. It's now several months into the future. We've got an awful lot happening with our part of the world, not just Tempsford, if I can say just Tempsford.
Yes,
and I understand that Councillor Zerny is actually the cabinet member for planning because he attended the design code forum.
Yes, a couple of weeks ago.
Land East, which I was surprised at. I think whether he's going to attend all of them, I don't know. But, he really, if he's going to be that cabinet member, then I'm afraid he needs to talk to us about all of the issues that are going on.
Yet another reason to invite him to Biggleswade Town Council and use our guest speaker list, or slot rather. Okay, we have a proposal about both Mr. Campbell and Councillor Russell attending the Tempsford event on Friday. All those in favour of backing that? Thank you. That's Councillor Patel? Yes, okay, that's unanimous, thank you. Brilliant, and we look forward to hearing what they've got to say in due course. Thank you for that. Twinning programme, Mr. Campbell again.
Yeah, quick update on twinning. I think although we've had long-standing twinning arrangements with L&Z over some 25 years or so, they've not been terribly active of recent years. And I think both with L&Z and with Valley and Oisy in France, we are moving into a new era of things actually happening and activity, and there being some tangible results out of this. We have an invite to L&Z to celebrate 800 years of Langendibach, which is one of the component parts of it. The Biggleswade District Choral Society are taking a coach over for the celebrations, August the 22nd to the 23rd. I did circulate everybody to say anybody who wants to come on a long weekend coach tour to L&Z. At the moment, we've got Councillor Russell and her husband and potentially myself going on that. Regarding our French contacts, things are really motoring ahead rapidly on that. They've just had mayoral elections in France. One of the mayors we already know, one of them was standing down, and a different party won the position. So we are yet to find out entirely what their position on twinning from the French end is. My intelligence tells me that there'll probably be no change. They'll still remain very keen on this. There's a lot of progress, particularly at a community level. We have struck up relationships between Scouts here and Scouts in France, and that's well advanced. Basically, they're going to be doing Teams conferencing and sending each other videos and such like, and translations in the near future. And that's something which can happen in weeks rather than months or years. There's a couple of events. 13th of June, there's the Bailly annual festival, and the week after on the 20th is the Noisy annual festival. I think that's too short notice. I don't think anybody's going to be attending them. However, 28th of June, they've got a run, and we've got a run not dissimilar. There is the suggestion that they might send some runners over to participate here. They've also got a cycling club that wants to cycle to Biggleswade, and there are talks about bringing some vehicles over for Shuttleworth and the vintage bus event in September. So there's some material things happening there. The thing which we might look at participating in productively is on the 5th of September, which gives us a more realistic timescale, and that's what they are calling the Forum des Associations. So basically, associations sounds more like our bag, really, and I think that's an opportunity for our community organisations, Volcom, social economy sector, arts and cultural organisations and sporting organisations, to make links and maybe be represented in France at that event. It's very much a civil level activity of the voluntary community organisations. So that would be quite a good one, I think, for us to participate in. The obvious thing would be to take a carload, basically. And that would help us to really further our corporate aspirations towards making business and community links with our twin towns in a realistic and material way, and to actually get things moving again. When there've been, in one case, moribund for a number of years, in another case, a brand new initiative which has really got some momentum behind it.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, and Karim, over to you.
Thank you for that, for the update. I think it's excellent in terms of all the things that are happening. One thing which we've got ambition to do would be to either live stream the next third, well, in recent times, the third business forum we're having event on the 28th, I think it is, of August. If not live stream, we'll certainly do a kind of try and do a YouTube version to send back to the French and Germany as well, which would be, I think, encouraging that kind of thing as well.
Okay, it's helpful. Thank you very much. There is also a recommendation here as well to nominate members of the council to sit on a twinning working group to refine, I think, and sort of contribute to some of these things going forward. So we do need to make a decision on that as well. So thank you for the report, Ian. That was very helpful. Any comments, questions? Councillor Russell.
First of all, just to say now that Ian's mentioned the Choral Society, that my husband is the president of the Choral Society, which is one of the reasons why we're going. The other thing to say is that I'm very interested in twinning, and I've visited both places. I've visited Erlensay 4 or 5 times now, and obviously visited by Ian Noisy last year. So I hope council would allow me to be on the twinning group. And I would say, Mr. Mayor, that you ought to be as well. So I'd like to propose that you are, because you've visited both places as well.
Places too, that's right.
You've been very much involved. I'll leave it at that.
Okay, thank you. Yes, I'd be happy to accept, time permitting, but yes, in principle, it sounds good. Any other questions? Yeah, sorry, Councillor Agnew.
I also had a quick email exchange with Philippe some while ago, I think it was around Easter, and he was also in his email, he was also mentioning that association, sorry, I'm just reading off the
No, that's fine.
telephone, the Baino-Asie Franco-British Association, which they have, and one of the suggestions was that maybe that's something that we could potentially pursue here on our side, because that could also be a good step forward to do something of an equivalent kind, and therefore accelerate the process of twinning that way.
Okay.
But yeah, happy to help where I can.
Okay. Well, I think if you want a third person, I'm happy to nominate you, Councillor Agnew, as well, as a sort of as a reserve or something. I don't know, however you want to do it. So, especially with your French linguistic ability as well, probably would come in handy. So, so if you're happy to take that, we can have. And we can manage that outside of this space if you want, but
I can certainly manage some
correspondence. Yeah, that'd be great to have you involved. And I think, I mean, just following on from Ian's initial report about the, I guess, the political changes in the French towns. We when Councillor Russell and I went back at the end of November, we met with both mayors. We knew one of them was standing down, and I met with his sort of successor, and he was elected, but there is a whole new group of people in one of the other towns that I don't think we really got to know on that visit. So we're kind of waiting from Philippe, our sort of contact there, to try and get, speak to the mayors and the new team and find out quite what their interests are. So there is a little bit of time to sort this out, which is quite helpful. But I'm really pleased that the the momentum is gaining with different groups. We ought to take a vote on this really as well, I guess. Got the three candidates, all those in favour as outlined? Yeah, right. So, yeah, thank you. Great, okay, 9D, updated local plan timetable. Over to you, Krim. Or is it Ian? Is it neither? It's just information. Okay. Well, it says receive and consider, so it's not just information, is it? We've got to consider it. But okay, I'll let you have a couple of minutes. I'm sure colleagues will want to say something.
Thanks, Mr. Chairman.
Okay.
So essentially, CBC have come up with this information which they put it to us, which is in the pack. Essentially, it regards when they're seeking to do their next iteration of their local plan. I mean, in a sense, I could pause there because I think there should be a discussion about this anyway. It's a very, very significant topic.
Yeah.
Following on from that, perhaps as a suggestion for now, which hasn't been written down, but subject to discussion, we could pull together a report for the next available town council meeting, preferably, which is probably going to be early June. And at that point, that will be more like a planning kind of report, which will include potentially some finances as well in there, so that we can plan ahead financially as well for this. I think the main question I think we have, certainly as officers for now, is the sequencing of this, because I recall the last time we did a neighbourhood plan version was about 2021-22, and then that was followed nearly a year later by the local plan, that version, that change. So is it okay, I suppose, for us to switch it around?
The neighbourhood plan is newer than the local plan.
That's right. That's what I'm. Thank you, Councillor Russell. So that's what I'm getting at essentially. So is it okay to switch it around this way, given that we've got national changes in terms of regulations and all legislation coming through? So, and there's still a bit of uncertainty around that.
Yeah.
So I'll pause there, but essentially, that's kind of for a plan for us is to sort of put once we have a clearer picture of what CBC would like to do, we'd like to put that into a report and then timeline and plan our own neighbourhood plan again.
I think that sounds a good idea, but maybe we'll get some members' comments to reflect. Yeah, we'll get that. So, okay. Any comments, questions? Councillor Russell.
At the bottom of the first page, it says consultation on submitted sites from the 1st of July for 4 weeks. It's an opportunity to comment on sites, but it's not a formal consultation required by legislation. That's interesting, because I thought that before it used to be. I mean, by the time the town clerk was talking about June meeting, it might make sense that we have a big planning session at the July meeting because if they're going to bring that forward, we'll at least know what the call for sites are, rather than having it on two separate agendas.
Yeah. Okay.
I think once we know the call for sites, we'll know a bit more about what might impact Biggleswade. And I mean, this has still got to go through all the rest of the formal process. I've thought a lot about the neighbourhood plan and when would be the right time to revise the neighbourhood plan, because it's a big exercise to undertake. And it's been useful at the moment to be able to say that actually the neighbourhood plan's got more weight than the local plan. We can't, when we do a neighbourhood plan, contradict the local plan, but the latest plan always has the most weight when it comes to some of the details, which is very useful. And it really all depends on how fast this is going to happen. And coming back to something like Tempsford, it's not going to happen in a great hurry. It can't. East West Rail has been going on forever. I think Universal Studios might happen a bit more quickly. So I think it's a lot to get our heads round. And I think it's right that we should certainly bring the call for sites to council in July, and maybe then try to think about what's the best way forward for us to address planning issues. But if we could have had a meeting with Councillor Zerny, which was referred to earlier, because we do need to understand the other changes that are coming forward in planning that the government's proposing, and how that's going to affect how we might have our say as a town council, because that's the key thing for us, isn't it? How are we going to have our say in the future?
Yeah, thank you, Councillor Russell. Councillor Foster and then Councillor Strawn.
I don't want to duplicate the comments Councillor Russell's made, so I'm just going to make the simple point. 4 weeks on a consultation on submitted sites seems remarkably short, given the sort of the nature of the subject. So I suspect CBC won't be considering any extension, but for me, 4 weeks isn't acceptable. It's also, as Councillor Jones is pointing out there, is just about going into summer holidays as well. So probably a week of that will be in summer holidays. And without being too cynical about it, I think that in all seriousness, we probably should be asking for some form of extension to allow residents to view this in slightly longer. That may fall outside their timescales. And I appreciate we do have a second formal consultation, but that doesn't seem to deal with the call for sites, simply to deal with the sort of formal vision and the aims and objectives. So the call for sites bit for residents is the important thing. I know some of us will have seen what some of the sites might be, but ultimately the public won't have seen all of the sites, and I think that's the important thing. We can guess what some of the sites might be, but there needs to be the timescales for it. And as Councillor Russell's alluded, obviously we have a neighbourhood plan, but this is a big Central Beds Council plan, and we need to be all over it. And I think my final point on this is be very mindful of agreeing or supporting certain things that have hidden connotations by inadvertently supporting one element. There's a risk that you might be supporting something else. And I'll leave that open for people to think about, but just be mindful when we support certain things in the future.
Okay, thank you very much. Councillor Strong.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Agreeing with all the comments that have been made, but how relevant is this consultation going to be in view of the Tempsford development? Because whilst the west of central Bedfordshire might not be affected by it, it is going to have a major impact on this area. Calls for sites, etc., will possibly go totally out of the window around here if that new town comes to be. So I'm not actually sure how practical this local plan is going to be until we know more about the Tempsford development. And I think this is something that needs to be taken on board, possibly even on Friday evening, because there's going to be an impact, and I don't see how Central Beds can actually produce their plan for the whole area in view of the Tempsford project, certainly within this timescale. It probably in practical terms makes sense for them to postpone it, much as though it's awful the way this area's postponed local plans historically for the last 50 years. But again, this I think the Thamesford development is such a major factor. It's going to totally blow any pan they produce now out of the water. So what's the point of it?
Okay, thank you, Councillor Strawn. Makes some fair points. Councillor Foster.
I don't disagree with some of Councillor Strawn's points. I think, though, the important thing around the call for sites and our visibility and reviewing those is absolutely essential, because if we don't do that, although the things that Councillor Strawn said may well be the case, ultimately Biggleswade and our area will be affected by if we've not scrutinised the call for sites in detail and haven't given direct feedback on it. So absolutely essential that we're all over this and are not committed to things that we not clear on.
Okay, that's great. So I think we need to. I think we got a proposal out of that. I think. So I think the way, just sort of summing up, if I've got this right, and we can then vote on it, that we will discuss this at the July council meeting further, okay? And then ask for an extension, I think, were the two key points, weren't they? So, go on.
Could I just ask in addition that as soon as the call for sites map is available, that is shared with members as soon as it's available, as soon as the officers have it, that it's shared with members.
Okay, I don't think we need a resolution on that. I think that's just an action, but okay, so we all clear with that, and then we vote on that, and then we can come back to this in July and try and get a bit more information. So, okay, Councillor Jones.
Can I just clarify the proposal? Sorry,
yeah,
it's to put some time aside at the July meeting.
Yep.
And it's to respond to CBC to ask for an extension and to consider due to the timelines that they've proposed.
Yep.
And we won't mention that they've done this before and they've got form, because that would be unprofessional, right?
Yeah, okay, that's exactly what I was trying to say.
And then when we are notified about the call for sites, I know CBC, bless you. Sorry. I know CBC will publish it on their social media channels, but we'll do the same, I assume, so that our populations are informed. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I think we do have a job to sort of put it out in the community, because I suspect community engagement has been very low on this, and I think once the broader community kind of understand, I think there'll be an education job there, I think, as to what's happening. So, okay, so we're all clear. So there's two substantive points, and really, so all those in favour? Thank you. Brilliant. Yeah, got that. Great, thank you. Okay, now to 9E, premises license application from Ertan Saleh, I think Saleh. New premises license application. Business on Hitchin Street. Councillor Russell.
I'm really quite concerned about the hours for this as an off licence. I think starting at 7 o'clock in the morning is a bit silly, but I'm really concerned about going on until 2 o'clock the following morning. It'll be a magnet for people who want drink after pub closing and all the rest of it. And where it is in Hitchin Street is not that far from a lot of residential properties. There are flats in Hitchin Street itself, but there are a lot of other places within a few hundred yards. And I think we should object to this quite strongly and say that the evening closure should be limited to the same as pub closing.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Patel.
I'm generally supportive of this application, particularly if the extended hours are there to give the business flexibility, not to actually open to those times. From what I gather, it's just to give flexibility, similar to another venue in the town which has got long opening hours, but they don't use the full hours. That said, I do think it's important we remain mindful of the licensing objectives, especially around the late night activity in the town centre. Also, do we know if there's any concerns raised by the police or any of the agencies regarding this application?
No. Karim, do you want to answer that one? I'm not aware personally.
But I haven't been aware yet of anything, although Mr. Campbell, I'm not sure. No, we haven't, officers haven't been made aware of any concerns yet.
Okay. Yeah, okay. So on that basis, I would be supportive of the application.
Okay. Any other comments or questions? Councillor Russell.
The idea of flexibility is all very well, but it could become the permanent thing. And I would make a formal proposal to object to the closing time at 2 AM. I don't think we should.
Hang on, Councillor Agnew. Sorry, we'll just go on, Councillor Russell, please.
I don't think that we should be wanting that to happen in the town. I don't like 7 o'clock in the morning, but I suppose I can live with it if people are so desperate. It's a general store as well, but it's the alcohol thing that they're wanting the licence for, and I think we should object and say that it should be no later than 11 PM.
Okay.
And that's a formal proposal.
Okay, is there a seconder for that? Okay, all right. Okay, Councillor Jones, a seconder for that. Okay, we'll vote on this one and then we'll see where we go. Sorry, Councillor Strawn.
Thank you for observation. There are various grounds for objection according to this note. So if we're going to object to it on the ground of the R's at least, I think reasons should be put forward as to what grounds they are, whether it's public safety, public nuisance, protects the crime and disorder. But I think just saying we feel that it should be a different R's, you need to have a reason for doing it. So perhaps if that,
I'm happy to add to my proposal then for the prevention of crime and disorder and the prevention of public nuisance.
Okay, seems okay. That's licensing grounds. So does that satisfy you, Councillor Strawn, as a legitimate reason? No, that's
going to put forward a comment and observation. We need to do it on grounds that can be sustained.
Okay, that's fine. Councillor Jones.
So I can see it from all sides. The reason that I would support the application is I'm mindful of the stats that were quoted at us when we had a visit from the police, however many weeks ago that was now.
Yeah.
And thinking about the various elements that she covered, I just feel that it goes together. So obviously, if we had time for a deep dive to understand much more about those stats, when are they happening in terms of times of day, etc., that would be really helpful. But we don't have that information here, so we have to make the judgment call. But yeah, I don't know if that helps members with that.
Okay, so there's a proposal on the table to object to the licensing beyond 11 PM on the basis of, I think, antisocial behaviour and crime and disorder. I think, was it, Councillor Russell? Yeah.
Sorry, could I request that we propose that you would push that to midnight in the interest of what feels sensible? Could I request that you would push that proposal? Midnight feels, in today's world, and based on how other businesses are operating. I get to the 2 AM, but midnight feels sensible to me.
I'm not particularly happy with that, but if that means that the council will propose it, then I'm prepared to go with midnight.
Okay.
Oh, sorry, we'll support it.
Support midnight. Okay, so the proposal is as Councillor Patelli.
Yeah, no, just quickly in relation to the reasons, I'm sure it was clarified that the police haven't raised any actual objections. So
well, we don't know that yet, though. I mean, they may not. We haven't had any, but there's not been any yet, I guess.
Okay.
But
all right.
Okay, let's have the vote and we'll see where we go. But I think Councillor Russ has articulated the points, and we've had a bit of compromise there over the time. So, okay, so the motion I set out to object to the licence application beyond midnight for the reasons as set out earlier. Okay, all those in favour? Okay, thank you very much. And then any objections? Okay, that's fine. Thank you. All right. Thank you very much. We'll see where we go with that and see what Central Beds come up with. Right, item number 10, planning applications. 10A, Unit J, A1 Retail Park.
This is a planned application signage primarily and relates to sketches. I think we should not object to this application.
Thank you very much. Any other comments now? Okay, no objection. Right. 10B, St Andrews Lower School Nursery Unit, siting of a new classroom building. Go on, Councillor Foster.
Although it's on the site of St Andrews Lower School, west,
West.
it's part of, I think of part behind Rainbows, so it's part, although it's on the school site, I couldn't really establish whether it's part of the school or part of Rainbow, but.
No, just to clarify for members, and this is why I declared an interest, it is on the site that is the school site. And so as governors have been made aware of that, but it is on the physical Rainbow sort of curtilage, if I can put it that way. And it's the playground behind the building, for those not familiar with it, where I think they want to essentially put in an extra classroom building on that site, on that space, sorry, not on that site.
Chairman, I was aware of that. I just wasn't sure whether it was going to be part of the Rainbow facility.
It is, that's my understanding.
But no objection, I think it's absolutely needed in that location anyway, so we should have no objection to this.
Okay, thank you. Okay, yeah, no other comments on that? Okay, so no objection on that one, okay. 10C, Anglian Sewage Works, Furzon Hall Road, and I've visited there in the past year as well. Yeah, thankfully there aren't too many. A few. It's the RSPB at Sandy's being one of them, but I think anything that probably helps Anglian Water is probably a good thing at the moment. But let's no objections. Yeah, great. Okay, I'll just go through these very quickly. 10D, 4 Chapel Fields. That's a tree, a sycamore tree. Subject to neighbours. Yeah, okay. 10E, Stratton Upper School, which should be Stratton School now, actually, rather than Stratton School. Relocation of 9 air source heat pump units.
So, Chairman,
Sorry. No.
With this particular one, I can't remember whether it's the tree officer, but there was some concern that there are, I think, 3 or 4 trees that will need to be taken down as a result of this application.
To put the heat pumps in. Okay.
But the trees. The tree plan didn't give enough detail of where the tree replacements would be. Essentially, what's happened in this particular case, these air source pumps have actually been installed already. So they're actually at the front of Stratton School, but they were installed by the contractors in error in the location because there was concern that they were supposed to be initially installed on the roof, but they couldn't be put on the roof because of structural. So as a result, this is actually in contravention of the agreed plan and application.
Right.
So this is essentially retrospective to relocate them close to where there's almost a triangle of land between the school and the Weatherly Centre, and it goes onto there. So the trees come out.
Oh, right.
So it's there. So it then reinstates the car parking spaces. So I think, subject to the tree officer being satisfied with the response, I think we shouldn't object to this, and we should support the application.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Foster. Councillor Strawn, did you want to comment? No, so I thought you were dying to get in. Councillor Jones.
You know how I feel about trees. But I do think, as long as we take, to your point, we take them into account, but moving, the ones you're talking about, the ones with the brown fencing that's causing absolute chaos with the parking around there, right? Yeah, it's chaos. So yeah, but the trees need to be looked at, so to support the arborists.
Okay, right, so no objection then supporting that application. Okay, thank you. 10F, 1 Warren Close, demolition of lean-to and erection of single-story side extension. Goodness. Councillor Foster?
Again, no objection to this. Yep. I think that the situation with this is from the road, it looks like a garage.
Right.
The existing structure looks like a garage, but then from the back is actually a lean-to with a garage door on the front. I think there's no objection to this. It's just so it's not a loss of parking as such. And there is sufficient space on the drive, so no objection.
Great. Okay, no objection then. G, 4 Kitty Close. No objection. Okay, subject to neighbours. Okay, great. H, 1D Winston Crescent. Store conversion. Removal of garage door and front window. So. No objection, subject to neighbours. Okay, great. And then the final one, I, planning appeal, Unit B, Normandy Lane. Outcome of planning appeal. didn't quite read into that one. So can anyone shed any light what that was?
Chair, I think for the benefit of residents and members that we can't really comment on this unless individuals have actually been and looked into the.
No, that's
into
fine.
this. So I think it's important that if we're putting something on the agenda that gives some indication of what it relates to.
Okay, I think officers have noted that if it goes in, there's got to be a little bit of background on that one. That's a bit cryptic. The other ones you can sort of work it out, but I think that one's probably either so far ago that we can't remember. So, okay. Pardon, sorry? And it's not on the list as well. No, okay, thank you. Okay, no problem. Thank you. Thanks for that. So number 11, planning application outcomes, which I think are all on the sheet here. Is that right, Karim? So if you've got any questions, it's fairly self-explanatory. I think the only ones I think we wanted to draw attention to was we had a lively discussion I think the last meeting or maybe the meeting before, on the use of 20 to 22 High Street, which is the former Halifax building. And there were proposals around a bingo hall, but I don't know where. It seems that, yeah, it's a waiting outcome from Central Beds, isn't it? So, oh yeah, and there's a license as well, a license application, but yeah, okay. So we'll just keep an eye on that. Sorry, Councillor Foster and Councillor Russell.
I just wanted to point out as well that there's the refuse of the plan and application in relation to the electric vehicle charging hub on the retail park, and obviously the reasons are laid out, but it's sort of in some ways a positive that our objection has been listened to on this occasion.
Yes,
so
that's quite right, yeah, about the removal of the trees. Yeah, thank you. Councillor Russell, did you have a question? No, fine. Okay, thank you. Great, okay, we'll move on then. Number 12, accounts. Ernest, do you want to say very brief remarks and then we'll have a look at that?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So the projected outend for month 11 indicates that there will be an underspend of just over 2,000, and on top of that, there will be 25,000, which will be transferred to the rolling capital as per resolution on 21st of January 2025. So the year-end process is ongoing. After officers have finished, it will be verified by the council's internal auditor and later on by the external auditor. But a draft figures will be shared with all members sometime either in May or June. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Ernest. Great. Anything you wanted to add, Councillor Strawn, or you just?
It's hopefully very encouraging, and I think the year-end results will be very positive when they've all been signed off. But I think we'll get more information very shortly. But I understand that the officers have managed to do very well and not spent everything that they could have done, which is a great achievement. So
absolutely, yeah,
puts us in I think a good position. So hopefully for this current financial year.
Great, thank you, Councillor Jones.
Yeah, I just wanted to say thank you as well. I know that, when you look at it, we talk a lot about, over the last couple of months, about the projected income being reduced in certain areas, but the mitigation of risk that we're doing alongside that is really helpful. And I think it's important that residents appreciate that officers aren't just sort of sitting back and letting the market just dictate what's going to happen, are actually being active in trying to find solutions and be creative to make it work for the town. So yeah, that's appreciated, and I think it's good just to raise that.
Brilliant, thank you. Okay, we do need to have a quick vote on this because we've got to consider it and just approve it. So all those in favour of approving it? Thank you. Great, thanks. Noted. Brilliant, thank you. Okay, I'm now moving on to item 13, items for information. Town centre vision, Karim, or sorry, Ian, do you want to follow up? Yeah, just give us a quick update.
Yeah, we're working steadily towards a conclusion on this. We've had a working group and we're moving towards another one. It's getting there, I think, is the way to put it. There's a timetabled number of stages to go through. We need to take it to joint committee for some discussion endorsements there. I think really, with a stage or two to go, we should probably see it wrapped by the end of the year.
Okay, thank you. Karim, do you want to add anything further?
Thanks. Just to add to that, it's just that it's going to be the municipal year, not the calendar year or financial year for that matter. So we're aiming for that in terms of getting councillor, then ward councillor, and all the other partners agreement on. There has been some slippage relating to a study that's been happening in the bus one, but that's a small bit of slippage in terms of time. And the wider power infrastructure to the square as well is going to be delayed as well to late summer. That's the latest information we have. So it's definitely happening this calendar year on that one. And both of those elements have an element of influence and impact on the vision. It's in different ways. But I'll pause there. We're still getting there, as Mr. Campbell said.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Jones.
Sorry, I feel like I'm being a bit disrupted this evening. No, thank you to everybody, not just around the table, but also other officers who have put in all their time and effort on this, because it's not a simple piece of work. Rookie question, why would it go to joint committee before coming to us as a collective to at least have visibility on it? Or have I just misunderstood the process? And apologies about that.
I think Karim can answer that one.
Thanks. So Councillor Jones is absolutely correct that in the ideal world, in terms of correct governance, it would go through from either TCM committee through to the town council. I think it's fair to say over the last several months, over nearly a year, joint committee has been getting more and more interested in this and in this topic, which they see at least at our level here as a strategic matter almost. That's why, and also we've got sort of some big things which we've been waiting maybe two plus years on, including this bus study, which again is a CPC led instrument, if you like, which is due back to report back soon. I think it's by mid-May at the latest now they're telling us. So aside from that slippage, we're sort of embracing different partners now at different times, and it's getting a little bit, I used to call it spaghetti junction, but essentially that's what's happening. So that's why it's not a smooth ride, and there's a bit of turbulence in terms of the process getting this through. And therefore, I mean, we mean to keep everyone cited as best we can. That's the main point on this. That's why we've actually included this as it's written here. And the site of a report has come up through a working group, but only for under exempt for information, essentially. No decisions being made at the next council this Thursday, joint committee, sorry. That's the rookie question with full explanation.
No,
sorry, thank you, Karim.
And it is a balance, isn't it, between sharing everything and then everybody wanting an additional voice on it. I just wonder where the middle ground lies between at least having visibility and understanding as a collective, while still not without anybody outside of the working group to run interference. I wonder if there's a middle ground that we could agree on potentially.
I'll ask the Deputy Chair of the Joint Committee to respond. Councillor Russell.
The Joint Committee put this on the agenda because a lot of the issues that we want to address in the town centre vision depend on central Bedfordshire. The whole bus issue in the town centre is the key one, but there's also the fact that they own the market square.
Yeah.
So an awful lot of this is down to central Bedfordshire. So the Joint Committee is trying to encourage central Beds officers to do what needs to be done. It was on the last Joint Committee agenda. What we're not looking at are the details of the town centre vision, because I think it's quite right that it comes to council first. We are looking at the process and the timescales because we're trying to help support the town council get this through. So I don't think there's an issue at all with that. We're just trying to get everything on the table so that the working group can finalise something to come to council.
Thank you.
Is appreciated.
Thank you, Councillor Russell. Councillor Strong.
Just further to that, there is funding which is coming from Central Beds Council rather than ourselves, which is part of the overall scheme, such as the electrics and such like. So it's inappropriate there. If Councillor Jones or other councillors are interested, if they look at the BJC agenda for Thursday, they'll get they'll get some of that background information. But Councillor Russell's quite right. There's certain things that the Central Beds, but the main market vision for us as a town, we will deal with. And again, we had the working group only on Friday, so again, it was impossible to actually report other than verbally tonight on that. So yes, it's important. We do the market vision, but there are certain things such as the electrics, etc., which are being funded elsewhere.
Yep.
Can I just clarify that
Sure.
the funding is section 106, it's not from central bed zone funds, there's section 106 there. So funding is not the cause of the delay, but it's been delayed until late summer, early autumn. That's right, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, go on, Chris.
Which has further knock-on delays for other improvements, some of which may relate to the, on-the-ground improvements from S106 funding for the vision in which we have past agreement and resolutions on a list of things.
Okay, thank you. Yeah. Right, let's move on. 13B, CBC fees and charges consultation, which is quite unusual because I think they'd arranged their budget already and now they're coming back to ask for more money for things from July, which is quite unusual within the financial year. But it's, whether we want to take a view on this or whether individual councillors want to respond, I don't know, but it's something that I think we ought to just have sight of really, because there are lots of things that CBC's fees and charges impact on residents of the town. So, okay, that's fine. Noted. There we go. Thank you very much. Okay, we're now public open session number 14. Is there anybody online, Helen? No, there's nobody here because the door's closed. So we're now going to move to exempt, and I'm going to try and do the new way of an exempt, so bear with me. Members of the Town Council will resolve to exclude members of the public and press from the meeting under section 1(2) of the Public Bodies Admission to Meetings Act by reason of the confidential nature of their business to be transacted, financial affairs of the authority and ongoing negotiations. Members of the public and press will be asked to leave the meeting and live streaming of the meeting is terminated. Right, do we need to vote on that, or yes? Do we vote on whether we agree to go into exempt session? Thank you. Great, that's great.